Welcome to another episode of Art Heals All Wounds. I'm your host, Pam Uzel. On this show, we meet artists transforming lives with their work. I'm sneaking in a bonus episode here in the middle of Season 2 because this episode contains very timely info for live music right now. I recorded an interview with the amazingly talented musicians Barbara Higbie and Vicki Randle. Barbara Higbie is a Grammy-nominated, BAMI Award-winning multi-instrumentalist, vocalist, and composer whose musical style spans folk, jazz, and pop, just to name a few. Vicki Randle is a singer, multi-instrumentalist, composer, and first and only female member of the Tonight Show band hosted by Jay Leno. She plays rock, jazz, and pop music, and she's toured with Aretha Franklin, Mavis Staples, George Benson, Lionel Richie, and many, many more. Barbara and Vicki shared stories of how they got their start in music, their friendship, and their collaborations, and they spoke about the role of the beloved Bay Area music venue, Freight and Salvage. Not only what the Freight means for their musical careers, but what it means to the Bay Area community of people like me, who need music in their lives too. Both Barbara and Vicki agree, music is communication between people. As Vicki says in the interview, it's our basic means of expression and to show love to each other. Freight and Salvage has been a place to express that love since 1968. By the way, the music we've been hearing during this part of the intro is called Trees Unknown from Barbara Higbie's new album, Murmuration. And here, on bass and vocals, is Vicki Randle and her band Skip the Needle with their song, We Ain't Never Going Back. You're listening to Art Heals All Wounds. Listen and let us inspire you. Berkeley's Freight and Salvage has incredible programming this spring. Barbara Higbie is releasing a new CD and is giving a special performance there on March 26th. Vicki Randle will be playing with her then, and then on April 1st, Vicki will be performing with her new band, Skip the Needle, for which she performs vocals and bass. These are both going to be amazing shows. And did I mention that Bobby McFerrin is performing there every Monday around lunchtime? What an amazing way to start off a week. Freight and Salvage offers performances that draw on the music of the cultures that make up the Bay Area. If you're not in the Bay Area, they still have something for you. They're offering a full program of classes in case you'd like to scratch a musical itch of your own. Hi, Vicki and Barbara. Thank you both so much for being on this episode of Art Heals All Wounds. Could you start by introducing yourselves? Maybe Vicki, how about you go first?
Sure. My name's Vicki Randle. I've been playing music for 50 years, just about. Well, I mean, there are definitely recordings of me from when I'm 3, because my dad had a reel to reel. But then he spent the rest of his time trying to try. There are also recordings of him trying to distinguish the difference between being a magician and a musician, which was very, very difficult for me to work out. My dad was a jazz piano player, and he worked with a whole whack of. He was a singer's accompanist. That's who it was, like his wheelhouse. That was what he liked to
Mm.
do. And way after the fact, after I could have used this fact for my bios from the time I was a small child, my mom told me that they held her baby shower at the club in Oakland, that my dad was accompanying Billie Holiday.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and 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 it was so. Now today, the first line of my bio is that I got to hear Billie Holiday while in the womb. Don't think that really made a difference, but
It may have. It was your first live concert.
it was my first live concert, was Billie Holiday in the womb.
Wow.
My parents failed at teaching me piano. That's Barbara's wheelhouse, I think. My parents were terrible teachers, but I saw the Beatles when I was 9 years old, and that changed my life, because I
Wow.
had only ever heard jazz and classical music before that. And somehow I didn't get the sense of individual musicianship from listening to these musical soups of jazz and classical music. It was like a
Mm.
lot of music made by a lot of people together. But when I saw the Beatles, I saw you could play guitar, like a guitar, and it would make a sound, and you could, so that was my mission from then on, was to figure out how to play guitar. And then every other instrument that I came across, because I love music. I just love music unabashedly. It is my reason for getting up in the morning. It's just who I am. I always thought that working as a musician would change that, but it really hasn't. And one of my deepest pleasures in life is to sit in a room with someone like Barbara Higbie, who also is like this, and who has mastered so many instruments, and we just pass instruments back and forth. She's a guitar player, she's a fiddle player, she's a piano player, she's a singer. She can harmonize, which is another skill as a singer. She's an amazing, amazing musician, and it's so much fun. One of the things that was so sad when the pandemic started and we stopped being able to sit in rooms together, because we didn't know how that was going to work, was there were 3 of us who were starting to play a trio. We were just meeting up and playing as a trio. It was Barbara Higbie, Julie Wolfe, and myself. Julie Wolfe, who is another multi-instrumentalist and singer. And we just played and sang harmonies and sang songs we grew up with. And we were getting ready to start some shows and do some of this in front of people when that was sort of interrupted. But I hold out hope that we're going to get back there.
I was just going to send an email to make a rehearsal schedule. We're going to start again.
Yay!
Yay!
Yes. So I don't know how much of that even describes anything, but that's how I got started playing music. And I just kept going. I mean, in high school, I played in rock bands because that was the music I liked. I absolutely was determined not to play jazz. So, of course, it pulled me back in as I kept playing percussion. As I learned how to play percussion, it was impossible not to get dragged back into jazz. And I discovered I had a love for it, as well as
Mm.
as a background in it. And I love listening, and I love vocalizing, jazz vocalizing. And I've just done a lot of work with a lot of people till now.
Mhm.
The end. Passing it over to Barbara now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll fill in, that Vicki was on the Jay Leno Tonight Show band for 16 years. Is that how long?
That's right.
She was the one woman playing music on 18 years.
It was like as if I had raised a child.
Right. Yes. And now it's back to very few women on late night TV show bands. It's very sad, but Vicki was the standard bearer and the one we all looked to, and just brought the house down every night. It was amazing. And then you played with Al Jarreau and Wayne Shorter, and I don't know who you haven't played with. It's amazing. Mavis Staples.
I played with George Benson. I played with Mavis Staples. I played with Lionel Richie, and I've recorded with Aretha Franklin, and
Oh my Lord.
I mean, a lot. These are all things you can look up on the internet. I played with Chris Williamson and a lot of women's music musicians and Linda Tillery and I
Mm-hmm.
mean a lot of local musicians as well that are luminaries in their own right, you know.
Mm.
That's one of the reasons I got back in touch with Barbara after living in LA for so long was I started doing concerts with Chris Williamson, and it was the three of us plus Teresa Troll all playing with Chris Williamson around the country doing shows. And
Oh, that was so fun.
man, I really got to appreciate her musicianship and Julie Wolfe's musicianship and Teresa Troll's musicianship. It's not as easy to play with her because she lives in New Zealand now, you know.
Yeah, that's the kind of singing we would do, 4 part singing, and it feels like your head's going to explode. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Well, Barbara, how did you get started in music?
I'm from a large, I'm the young, well, Vicki's the oldest of six. I'm the youngest of six. And I've come from one of those musical families where it's almost self-defense that you have to play an instrument. I have 4 older brothers that he played. Our basement was like full of trombones and saxophones and everything. But I never thought I could be a full-time musician. I grew up in Indiana, and there's like no one who's ever been a musician, I guess, that stayed in India. I never met anybody but the church organist. But then we moved to Africa when I was 13. We moved to Ghana, and my mind was just completely and utterly blown. And I lived there for 2 years. And then and all I did was play music. We went to every village ceremony and went out to dancing to high life lots of nights. And then when I came back and moved to Orange County, I was a little bit at 15 I had a massive culture shock, and moving to Orange County in 1973 was
For real though. You were 15 when you moved to Orange County?
Yes.
As was I.
I was oh really? Wow, we have that in common.
Oh my God.
It was the worst, right? I was a junior in high school. I didn't make a friend for 9 months. I just played music in my room.
Oh, I made friends, but then their parents would meet me and we would no longer be friends. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Because
right.
there was that part. Yes.
Interesting. Well, I didn't realize that I was wearing like African clothes to
Excellent.
high school in Orange County.
Excellent.
Trying to hang out with all the black kids, and they were like, "What the hell are you doing?"
There weren't any black kids. What are you talking about? I was it in my high school. Yeah.
Wow.
Where did you live?
We lived in Fullerton.
Yes.
Yeah. Where did you live? Torrance. Didn't you live in
Garden Grove.
Garden Grove?
Behind the orange curtain is what we called it.
Behind the orange. Coming to the Bay Area was just like heaven. And when I was in Orange County, I did start, my brother was home from Vietnam, and he played the banjo, and he was really depressed. And I thought, well, I should start playing the fiddle so I can play with him. And I found this fiddle teacher. I happened to find this guy who was playing with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris and taught me fiddle. And when I was 15. And so then I just fell in love with that kind of music, because to me, it felt the most like African music, because it was like groups of people making music. It wasn't, it was folk music, just like that. So then when I got to the Bay Area, I just joined every band, and I was heading back to Africa. I was living in Paris to learn French. This is when I was 18. And then I realized I was making a living playing music in Paris. And then I just thought, I should give it a try. Even though it's impossible, I'll give it a try. And
Oh, wow.
So all I was ever doing, and just like Vicki, I mean, I love being around Vicki because she is always playing an instrument, always learning something on an instrument, always singing a song. It's like, I love that. It's just the happiest place on earth, really. It really is.
Yeah. Can you tell we have a mutual admiration society here?
I can tell, and I love it. I was just going to ask, when did you two meet?
No, probably 1983, maybe. When I met Teresa, maybe in there somewhere, maybe.
Probably around the time, because I worked on Teresa's first record, and then Teresa's all records except for the one that she did with you. I was already on the road by then.
Yeah, I don't think I met you then. I opened for you when you played with Linda Tillery at Mills College, but
I have no memory of that.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I said hi to you in the bathroom or something. Oh, starstruck.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I must have been in Michigan.
I love that your entry into music was African, because that's kind of what called to me when I started learning how to play drums. It wasn't really Latin percussion that was calling me, it was African percussion.
Hmm.
And the Bay Area was kind of a hotbed of African percussionists, you know?
Yes.
So I wanted to learn that. I have, in fact, my whole.
The CK Led Zeppo and all those guys.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Babatundes, all of them.
Yes.
Do you remember which record you guys first collaborated on? If you don't remember when you met, because I've noticed that there's a lot of playing on each other's. I think, Barbara, for sure you played on Vicki's album.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You probably played on records before together.
Probably. Would we remember? I don't know.
I know. See, this is the thing. These specific dates and times are never going to get an answer because, first of all, right now, time is a construct. It is impossible for me to remember that I did something yesterday or 2 years ago at this point, because the pandemic has completely disabled my ability to remember things in real time. So good luck.
Oh, yeah. No, we're all in a parallel universe created by the pandemic. It's like there's another universe out there that maybe kept going without us, but we're stuck here.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
You're
absolutely.
Right, Pam.
In this construct.
Yeah. Well, specific dates aren't that important.
Yeah, I know we played at the Michigan Women's Music Festival. Somebody handed me a cassette of
absolutely
Vicki sitting in on Teresa's and my set, Vicki and Linda Dillery in 1991. And you sounded great, Vicki.
Huh.
And everything we played was really, really fast.
Oh my gosh.
We played a lot faster then.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to play fast now, but
I look at some videos of things that I did in the 80s, and I absolutely could not reproduce that today. I don't know how I did that,
That fast.
Because, we were playing everything really fast. A lot of notes and also it was just fun to really push the envelope with each other. That was one of the reasons I really liked playing with you in all the incarnations, in the jazz, rock, R&B, funk. Like we all moved around in all the different types of music too. And that's the thing about the Bay Area in particular that I love, is that people make music here because they don't, it's not for a particular end. It's not like, I want to put this band together because everybody looks pretty and we're going to get a record deal. People from all different kinds of disciplines and all different kinds of musical backgrounds get together because they want to try making something new. And the end result isn't to sell it or to become famous or to, try to turn this into a profit-making enterprise, which I feel is the exact opposite of the LA-based entertainment industry, which is, I feel like temperamentally, I'm just a different person than the LA-based entertainment industry, And it's always been kind of a struggle because I love music so much. I love collaborating. I love musically sparring with people. It's like, hey, do this. Okay, kid, let's try that. Like, okay, I'm going to sing this. Let's see, what do you got here? And music is all about communication and all about interplay and less about showing other people what you do. It's more about enjoying yourself while you're doing it, to me. It is anyway.
Amen. And raising the energy of communication between people. We are so blessed in the Bay Area. And I would segue this right into the Freight, because the Freight to me has always been the place where you could try out the craziest things and people would come and sit and listen to you attentively while you're trying out whatever crazy soup you made that week that has like herbs from Tunisia and, vegetables from Venezuela. It's like that people will really listen. And that's what I love about the Freight. That's why I'm such a huge supporter.
Yes, same. The Freight has always taken a chance on some of the most, I mean, the wildest combinations of things that any of us came up with, and has really historically always supported local musicians and the local musician scene, which is so important to me, because a lot of clubs in the Bay Area are the circuit clubs, the place where the popular bands that are playing right now come through and everybody goes to see them, and they play all over the country, and that's great, and that's, you know, that's a way to keep the clubs profitable. But one of the things that the Freight has always stood for is local access,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly access to the cultures of music that aren't necessarily popular.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they bring in a group of gospel singers that, like, nobody in a folk club would think is the kind of music that they would enjoy, and yet the audience at the Freight will come and sit and give it a chance, you know.
Yeah, you know what's interesting as an audience member is that what feels different to me about the Freight and Salvage is that it really feels more like an interface with the community as opposed to other music venues.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I just signed up today for one of their online music classes because it's such a community resource. And it's so interesting to hear it from your perspective as musicians within the Bay Area about that it is also different from other venues here. Yeah, and not to ask for direct dates, but do you guys remember when you started playing at the Freight?
Yeah, I played there for the first time in 1978. I was
Wow.
19.
Wow.
That is so cool.
The old Freight, number one.
I'm pretty sure it was somewhere around 1975, because that's when
Wow.
I was here.
Yeah. It's been going since 68. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's right. You guys are referencing its old former location.
There are 3 Freights, with the first one, the middle Freight, and then the new one.
I think I only know the middle one over on Gil. Was it
On Addison
Addison
and
San Pablo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the very first one was about
It-
90 or 100 seats. It was on San Pablo, right across from the Albatross, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's now an auto body shop. The building is still there. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'm so curious. What have these past 2 years been like for both of you and for the Freight? Not to bring us down.
Vicki, you go first. Well, you already said you're in a time
Honestly,
warp.
it's not. Well, not only that, but I mean, the Freight immediately started interfacing with all of us, and in trying to create content to stream. And, you know, I mean, my band did a lot of work with the Freight, my band and me solo. I know Barbara did.
Mm-hmm.
It was really great. They started a series, and I mean, not that many clubs in the Bay Area really were able to flip over like that and into working to create content like that. But the Freight did. And we did a bunch of shows
Mm-hmm.
with them and for them and in conjunction with them. The record company, Little Village Foundation, that I'm on the board of, and who released my band's last record, also did a series of events in conjunction with the Freight.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing they did was raise $50,000 to give musicians. It was just grapevine. If you knew a local musician who was having trouble paying their rent, they just you
Wow.
referred them to the Freight, and they did that for everybody, because for quite a while we weren't getting any unemployment, and quite a few of us live on the edge. So it was really, it's real community. It's way, like you said, Pam, it's way beyond just a club.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm actually the co-chair of the board these days, along with
wow.
Elizabeth Seja-Min, who is a bad lady. She had the Women's Philharmonic for many years. She's an orchestra conductor, and then she's a big high-level fundraiser now. 2 months ago, she consulted with Melinda Gates and Mackenzie Bezos about which women's oriented nonprofits they should give their money to. But anyway, she's my co-chair, so I'm so honored.
Wow.
And we keep raising, I mean, the community support for the Freight, aside from the government support too, which really helped. But the community support just flooded in. Of course, we're afraid that if this year is as rocky as last year, that maybe people will forget that we have this resource of the Freight and stop giving. But so far, so good. It's because a lot of people, it's basically kind of their church, and they feel like they don't want this to go away. This has to stay. So that's been the good thing in the pandemic with the community. And the other good thing that came out is because the education went so online, and our education director, PC Munoz, he connected with the Berkeley Public Schools. So they are going to be the Freight is going to be having classes in all the Berkeley Public Schools called Playing with Tradition. And it's like the connection between hip hop and folk music, and getting kids to write, music in all those styles. It's like really across the board through the Berkeley Public Schools. So that's a huge thing that has come up this year.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great opportunity for those kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I had that in my
I know.
high school.
Yeah, they're getting like tabla players and hip hop players to come together in classes, and get and spoken word artists and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm just curious. I mean, this is not the answer I expected. So it's actually really refreshing and surprising, because for a lot of artists, and I always think of musicians first, that to me feels like the one that has not quite come back yet. Those live performances, we sort of got a little tease of it, like in between Delta and Omicron or whatever. Yeah. That like, okay, we're coming through this. We're going to start having live events again. But what you're telling me is so much nicer than the answer that I thought I was going to hear. So, yeah. And how about just for you personally? Has this felt like a difficult time, or?
Oh, for me personally, it was kind of a relief, because I'd been on the road for 40 years, quite a bit. And I was getting a little tired. So for me, it was great to have a break. And I had the time, and it was, it was a good timing for me. But not everybody had that experience. And I know to get unemployment, that was the first time I'd ever gotten unemployment in my life.
Right.
That was
right.
Yeah, it was. Wow. But I'm ready for it to be over, and I'm ready for all of it to come back, like most people. But we just have to be patient, I guess. And we're doing a show there. Vicki will be on my show March 26th. She's going to be very featured. I have a CD release.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's going to be my first time back at the Freight. With an audience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right, with the full audience.
We did some shows during the pandemic that were, what do you call it? Well, we taped them and rebroadcast them.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a word for it, but that word is gone now.
Live stream? Live stream. Yeah. No, it wasn't live stream.
Well, live stream means live stream.
Yeah, right. But Vicki and I recorded 2 albums of instrumental music, and Vicki is very featured on all of those. But she recorded 1 million albums. I don't even know how many during the pandemic. How many?
I've done a lot. I've been doing a lot. In fact, I'm just gearing up to do yet another.
Skip the needle?
I'm doing some cajon for somebody this afternoon.
Wow.
For Emma's Revolution.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
After we're done. But yeah, that's one of the things that I was able to do.
That's the class I signed up for.
Oh, Emma's?
No, I think his name is Hector. This is through the Freight Salvage, the cajon class.
Oh, cajon class. Gotcha. Because I know Emma's Revolution have been leading sort of a regular sing-along series.
Cool.
That they've been
love
doing.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to sing well to join it?
I don't believe you have to sing. I don't believe you have to have any
Sing well.
experience.
Yes.
What they've been doing is putting on a series of shows and having guest people. And I know Coffee Brown is going to be doing one March 18th because she can't do a show with me on March 18th. So
she's on Emma Revolution's show.
Because I know she's on Emma's Revolution's live stream. So we never stopped working. I never stopped working. Part of that was because I got off the road almost presciently. I got off the road in 2019,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and I had a year to prepare. And part of what I was doing recording here in my bedroom studio for different people all over. And so I was already set up recording and writing. And then when the pandemic hit, it became people were just clamoring for content as well as collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Mm.
doing a lot of collaboration work with my band Skip the Needle. We composed music for several events. We composed music for Cal Shake's last performance. Um,
Oh, wow.
we've been really doing a lot of work. And so it's been different and it's been challenging. I mean, we immediately pivoted from rehearsing inside to rehearsing outside here in my backyard, which my neighbors actually loved. I thought they were going to
I'll bet.
complain. But they would say, "Tell us when you're going to rehearse again," and then they would invite their friends and have picnics, and people would like walk by the house and applaud from outside, and it was really fun, and it felt like in this weird way, even though we couldn't connect with each other live, that it was bringing the community together in this very odd way, even though we weren't seeing each other. It
Right.
was very cool. So it's been good for me.
I was going to ask you about your band, Skip the Needle. I saw a video of a performance at El Rio that was just on fire. I mean, when did this band form and what's happening with it?
It formed about 8 years ago. Let's see. I came back to the Bay Area in 2012. The Tonight Show ended in 2010, and I came back to the Bay Area in 2012, and somewhere around there is when this band started.
Mm.
And it grew out of a series of jams, as these things happen.
Mhm.
Shelley Doty and Coffee Brown were in a band that had sort of, disbanded, and Katie Colpitts was, all these people were band leaders, had their own bands, and we kind of found our way together. They had been holding jams, and I piggybacked onto it when I came back to the Bay Area. I was like, I wanna. And there were already two guitar players, so I started playing bass, which I had done years before in different bands. I've actually have the distinction of playing bass for Laura Nero. So
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
That is amazing.
but it wasn't as challenging to do that because she played everything in the same key. It wasn't as challenging to do that as what we're trying now. And and all of these musicians with all their different influences, R&B and
Rock, serious
rock and
rock.
punk, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just so excited all the time. We've been continuing to work and write music. We just finished a project with a writer whose name I would really like to say right now, but I can't remember. Like, if that's one of those, like, please don't do this. Please save me. I'll remember his name. But anyway, we've been writing music for this musical movie situation about the life of Octavia Butler.
Oh
So
my
we've written a
God.
bunch of songs about Octavia Butler and the concepts in her books and Afrofuturism, and it's just been so amazing. And the song we all love the songs. I love the songs, and I can't wait to put them out, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to start playing them, for people.
That's very cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that you have to find a way, and most musicians live in this creative vortex. Like, you have to find a way to get this out. You have to find a way to keep doing it.
Hmm.
you know you can't let politics, you can't let racism and sexism and all of the isms that keep us as women, as lesbians, in the case of myself. You can't let anything keep us from putting out music and the love in that music out to the world. We just have
Mm.
to keep finding a way. It's always been the way. It's always been the way, and it will continue to be the way. you
Wow.
know It's our
Yeah.
basic means of expression and to show love to each other.
Mm.
Rant over again.
I love your rants. I love them.
That was a really good one.
Yay. Cheer. I get my pom-poms.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, I love that idea that that's how we're expressing love to one another. Yeah. What does the Freight and Salvage need from the community right now?
I think just loyalty would be the main thing
Mhm.
as soon as you possibly feel safe to come out, go to shows, because they are pretty slow right now. And it actually is costing the Freight money to put on shows right now because
Yeah.
the attendance is low, but we're trying to keep it going. And they're requiring, proof of being boosted and masks the whole time. And you can't have drinks in the listening room. So it's pretty darn safe, and the numbers are low in this area right now. So it is pretty safe. I think we all just got very spooked. So it'll be a little while, but I hope by the end of March, everyone comes out and sees Vicki and me play at the Freight.
I hope that at least by the end of March.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a great show.
I was going to say, Skip the Needle is also going to be part of the Little Village show.
Oh, really?
On April 1st.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Oh, where is that?
At the Freight.
Oh, at the Freight.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Yep.
So what do we have March 26th and April 1st to look forward to on the calendar.
Are some great things coming up if you see the calendar of the Freight. Amazing things.
Yeah.
Oh, and Booker T.
Booker
T's on the 18th.
Oh, boy.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great things. Bobby McFerrin on Mondays during the day. Richard Thompson has a bunch of sold-out nights coming up.
Yes, of course. He's, wherever he goes, it's going to be sold out.
Yeah, is that amazing?
Yeah, the programming this month looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to put a link to the Freight and Salvage calendar on all my social media and tell people to check it out for this month, because that all does sound really good. That's one of my favorite venues, mostly because since I've gotten older, my feet start to hurt at concerts. It's so great. Like the nice comfy seats.
Those comfy seats. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's true. So
that just shows you should be in the back dancing instead of sitting.
Well, dancing or sitting is better than standing. You know what I mean? If you can dance and you can keep moving, then your feet don't really have time to get sore on the bottom. So,
well, then that means you got to come to more Skip the Needle shows.
Yeah.
I do want to come. That was like, even just watching it through the little window on Facebook was incredible.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're so tight. You played Juneteenth here in Albany on the street, and it was just a killer show.
Oh, we're doing it again.
Oh, you are? Oh, great.
Yeah, we're playing Juneteenth again. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been delightful. You guys are such a great, the friendship is just so palpable, even through this little tiny cold computer screen. So it's been wonderful to talk to you. Can you both, before we leave, tell us where people can find out more about you?
Vicki, go right ahead.
All you have to do is enter any version of my name in the very many misspellings that there exist of them into any search engine.
I think that I've done it.
Vicki
as well.
Randle. Do you use an E on the end of Vicki?
My Twitter slogan is spell my name. I have a website, a Facebook page, any version of that, but you can find out anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of things I wish you didn't know, but are just there. So there's nothing I can do about it.
Same here. Just Barbara Higbie, which is really hard to spell also. It's BARBARAHIGBIE. Barbara Higbie. But and Facebook and all that. We're everywhere, we're pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. We're the most famous, not famous musicians.
And keep watching the Freight calendar.
Yes. And so the Freight calendar, I will put a link up to it in the show, and I'll also put it on my Linktree so that everybody can see what's coming up. And thank you both so much. This was really fun.
It was really fun. Pam, thanks for having us and supporting artists.
Yeah. Thank you very much for supporting us and the Freight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is my pleasure, really. You're listening to Art Heals All Wounds. Thank you so much to Barbara Higbie and Vicki Randle for joining me on this episode of Art Heals All Wounds. They shared their stories and they filled us in on their connection to the wonderful Freight and Salvage in Berkeley, California. If you live in the Bay Area, buy tickets for one of the Freight's upcoming shows. Wherever you are, sign up for a class. You can find Freight and Salvage's full schedule of upcoming events and classes at thefreight.org. That's TheFreight.org. If you want to find out more about Barbara Higbie, you can find her at barbarahigbie.com. That's BARBARAHIGBIE.com. To find out more about Vicki Randle, you can find her at VickiRandle.com. That's VICKIRANDLE.com. The music you've heard in this podcast is Yellow Light District by Lobo Loco. Beethoven's Piano Sonata No. 15 in D major was performed by Karina Galanian. The two songs you heard in the intro are by Barbara Higbie and Skip the Needle. This podcast was edited by Eva Hristova. Thank you for listening to this episode of Art Heals All Wounds. More than anything, I'd love for you to support musicians everywhere. We need music in our lives more than ever. If there's one thing we need to be doing, it's to express more love to each other. And as always, if you like what you're hearing on this podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts.